Yo, what's good my people, welcome back to the Silly MMA channel, and in today's video I'm going to be rating every pay-per-view main event and every pay-per-view co-main event we've had this year. We've had some decent pay-per-views this year, we've had some bad ones, but we've had some good ones as well. But we're going to be looking at the headliners, the two top fights, the two final fights for the night. Before we get into the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And now I'm going to explain the rating system. So it's going to be an out of 10 rating made from two individual ratings. The first individual rating will be out of 4, and that is the quality of the matchup. And this means, was the matchup warranted? Was it an undeserved fight? Was it an undeserved title shot? Was it just a shitty fight? Was it just not worthy of that spot? Or was it worthy of that spot? And then the other rating will be out of 6, and that is actually the performance of the fight, because the performance of the fight is always the most important thing. You can get 2 bums, and if they get a good scrap, that'll be fight of the year if it's warranted. So that's the rating system. And we'll have an example: John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, UFC 309 last year, main event. Quality of the matchup, 1 out of 4. It made no sense. Stipe was coming off a big layoff. He'd just been clotted by Ngannou 4 years ago, and he comes back to fight John Jones, who has an interim champ, and he weren't fighting him. That's a 1 out of 4. Performance of the fight, 3 out of 6, because it was a John Jones fight. It's the spectacle of that. It was a finish, but it was shit. So that would have been a 4 out of 10 main event. You get the concept. Let's get into the video for UFC 311, the first pay-per-view of the year. And of course, UFC 311, we start with the co-main event: Umar Nurmagomedov versus the bantamweight champ Merab Dvalishvili. For the quality of this matchup, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 4, because Umar was definitely the warranted contender at the time. But had he actually done enough to get it? I don't know. But it was the right fight to make. There was no other fight to make. There was beef behind it. Umar said Merab was ducking. Merab got too angry. He took the shot. So that's a 3 out of 4 for the quality of matchup, in my opinion. And the performance of the fight, out of 6. Fuck it, bro. I'm giving this a 6 out of 6. This was a spectacle, man. The grappling exchanges were so high level. The striking was fun. Merab was taunting. The Khabib spectacle, the white papaka versus the pink pakaka, whatever it was called. You know what I mean? It was just sick. It was a beautiful, beautiful matchup. So 6 plus 3, that is a 9 out of 10. I'm giving this co-main event a 9 out of 10 between Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov. And then the fight that happened directly after that, Makhachev versus Renato Moicano. For the quality of this matchup, it's not the UFC's fault, but it has to be a 1 out of 4. It was on a day's notice. Moicano was 10th ranked in the division, man. He didn't deserve it, but the UFC had to book it, and it's not their fault. But it doesn't mean it's a good fight. And then for the quality of the matchup, I'll give it a 2 out of... No, I'm mad. I'll give it a 4 out of 6. It was a quick finish. It was an Islam finish, displayed the excellent grappling, but there was not much competitive aspect. People say Moicano dropped him. Islam obviously just slipped. But that's a 4 plus a 1. It's a 5 out of 10. It's not the fight we wanted, and it was quite underwhelming. We knew what was going to happen, and when it happened, we weren't really surprised. Then on to the next pay-per-view, the worst of the year by far. UFC 312, Plessis versus Sean Strickland. But the co-main event of that was Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez for the UFC female strawweight belt. The quality of matchup, you know what? For a female fight, I'm going to judge it based on female fights. This is a 4 out of 4. We felt Suarez was destined to be champ. She's been around that area for so long, got so many injuries, and she finally got there. And Zhang Weili, the menacing champion, the greatest female fighter of all time, in my opinion, apart from Amanda Nunes, of course. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one. And the quality of fight, I'll give it a 2 out of 6, man. It was nothing special. It was impressive, but that's about it. Zhang Weili shocked Suarez. Suarez was a betting fucking favourite, bro. I had Zhang Weili by decision. It was an obvious pick, but Suarez was the favourite, and Weili just shut it down. The takedowns just got shut down. It's a beautiful performance. So that's a 4 out of 4 in the quality of the matchmaking, a 2 out of 6 in the performance of the fight, a 6 out of 10 co-main event, but since it's still MMA, automatically gets reduced to 1 out of 10. Then for the main event of this same card, Plessis versus Strickland, the quality of the matchup, this was a 1 out of 4. No one wanted to see it. Yeah, the first fight was close, and Strickland had bounced back with a win over Costa, but no one cared about this shitty matchup, bro. No one cared. It was a 1 out of 4. We had prospects like Imavov, Bahailo, all these guys from in the middle of the division, Chimaev. You give it Strickland, bro, no one cares. And then the quality of fight, I'll give it a 2 out of 6. It was boring. Plessis just beat him up, and that was it. Strickland had a bit of fighting him, but there was nothing, man. Plessis took him to school and dogged him over 5 rounds, 50-45, complete shutouts. That's a 2 plus a 1. This was a 3 out of 10 main event. Then on to UFC 313, in which you had the first non-title fight co-main event between Mr. Justin Gaethje and Rafael. For the quality of matchup, out of 4, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4, because it was a fun fight. It was meant to be Gaethje versus Hooker, but the matchup, we've seen it before. We knew it was going to be a banger, and you know, in the end, it didn't disappoint. It was great matchmaking, in my opinion, especially on the notice they had. 3 out of 4. And then for the performance of the fight, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 6. It was a spectacle, you know, it was a proper good scrap, just engaged Fiziev, going back at it. He dropped him in the second round. It was just a good fight, you know, and I'll give it a 5 out of 6. There's not much to break down, it's just a just engagey Rafael Fiziev fight. If you know, you know. So 5 plus 3, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10 co-main event. And then for the main event of that card, Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. For the quality of matchup, 4 out of 4. This is what we had been waiting for as UFC fans. We went over the Roundtree bullshit, all the Yuri number 2 bullshit, and we finally got the fight we needed. This was great matchmaking. Ankalaev had to fight Rakic, Pereira had to fight Roundtree for some reason. They finally won, they both finally met each other, and it went down. So it's a 4 out of 4 quality of matchmaking. For the actual fight, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 6. Because I enjoyed it from my technical point, but that's maybe more because of the actual names that were fighting. You know, if that was like Erin Blanchfield versus Raquel Pennington that landed the same fight exactly, I'll be complaining and saying how I hate women MMA, but it wasn't that bad fight. You know, Ankalaev dropped in, Pereira had some good moments. It was a much closer fight than people seem to remember, although it's just like start of March, you know, it wasn't that far ago. But that was a 3 out of 6. For the performance quality, it was a 4. That was a 7 out of 10 main event for that pay-per-view. Then onto the best of the year, UFC 314 in Miami, which had the co-main event, of course, of Micheal Chandler versus Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. For the quality of this fight, you know, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 4 because yeah, it was exciting. Both guys, top guys in the division. You know, Paddy getting that shot up there, Chandler finally fighting the new god of lightweights. To be honest, I think it was about time that we saw Paddy Pimblett fight like someone in their prime, you know, like a Hooker. I mean, Dan Hooker's not in his prime, but you know, he's better, he's more at it than Chandler, and like a Gamrot, you know, one of these guys in the lightweight division instead of another old god in Micheal Chandler. But you know, I got the prospect of the matchmaking, 2 famous guys, 2 well-known guys, and yeah, it wasn't that bad on paper. I'll give it a 2 out of 4. There was decent anticipation, decent prospect behind the matchup as well. And for the performance of the fight, fuck it, man, I'm giving it a 5 out of 6. Because it started off Chandler putting the pressure, you know, taking down Paddy off one of them naked leg kicks. And before, you know, Chandler was going to do him over 5 rounds. He's the veteran experience, Paddy ain't legit. And then bang, second round, Paddy starts to school him on the ground, on the feet. It just becomes a beautiful masterclass from Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, and eventually gets that 3rd round TKO in Miami. I'll give it a 5 out of 6 on the performance. So it'll be a 5 plus a 2. That was a 7 out of 10 co-main event. And then for the main event that night, the next fight, Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes. And for the quality of this match on paper, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4 because it wasn't a 4 out of 4, you know, it just didn't have that energy about it since, you know, Volk had just been knocked out. And the real champ of 145 pounds, Iliato Boya the Matador, you know, he wasn't in the division anymore, so it felt more like a filler matchup. We were excited because it was Volk, and we kind of knew he was going to regain his belt. And for the performance of the fight, well, 2 words, man, hell yeah, 6 out of 6. You know, 6 out of 6. Volkanovski styling on Diego Lopes. I said he styled, he didn't style. It was a back and forth war. You know, De Lopes dropping Volk stunning Lopes. It was beautiful, the grappling, the power, just seeing a glimpse of prime Volk in 2025, man. That is all a man needs to be happy in this life. No girls, no drugs, no nothing, just prime Volk jabbing and leg kicking his way to a glorious decision, and that's what we saw. You know, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 6, mainly just because Volk is the man. So that's a 6 plus a 3, the highest title fight yet, and 9 out of 10 main event. And then for the most recent pay-per-view, the final pay-per-view that we've had this year, UFC 315, the co-main event, quality on paper, Valentina Shevchenko versus Manan. I mean, I guess it was like 2 out of 4, it was the right fight to make, but no one cared, man. These WMMA co-mains are going to be there death for me, and we have one next week as well with Pena and Harrison, but that's actually a decent fight, you know. I'm kind of hyped more for that one than fucking Merab versus Umar number 2. And then for the performance of Shevchenko versus Fiorit, I'm giving it a 2 out of 6 because it was rubbish. I feel like it isn't actually as bad as people say, because there was a bit of war in movements, you know. Fiorit got caught and all that, but it's a 2 out of 6. So this would be a 4 out of 10 co-main event, nothing special, man. No one really cared. And then for the actual main event of this pay-per-view, Belal Muhammad versus Mr. Jack Della Maddalena, the quality of this match on paper, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 4 because we were hyped to see JDM fight, but we all thought Belal was just going to win. You know, at least most of the people thought Belal, some immortal Habib type guy, some Habib undefeated brother, you know, like this guy, brother, nobody beat him, not Australian boxer, brother. But 2 out of 4 because, you know, it was meant to be Shavkat and we didn't get Shavkat, so we were like, oh, give me Shavkat. This is just Belal warm up for Shavkat. But the performance of the fight, I'm actually going to give it a 6 out of 6, man. This was a banger. And that's going more because of the upset, man. We all seen Belal winning, and JDM just came through and ruined it. And Belal slugged, you know. JDM was winning the fight. He was ahead all the rounds. But Belal was there, as he showed in the 4th round. He managed to clap back. And it was just back and forth. Excellent head movement display from JDM. Beautiful work. Body work, beautiful. And Belal Muhammad was just there. Tough as fuck. You can't call Belal boring. And that was the most recent pay-per-view. And of course, you have UFC 316 coming up this week. Tell me your quality ratings for the co-main, which is between Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison, which I'm actually going to give a 3 out of 4. I'm pretty hyped for that one. And Merab vs Umar, I'm giving it a 2 out of 4. Could be a 1 out of 4, but you know, I'm starting to get a bit of hype. Now we're getting close to the event. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see next in the comments. Shout out, Silly MMA.